This is Meteo Mundo.
Hello friends, how are you on this Sunday? Rusty here, kind of with an impromptu live video here. Good to see you. Main reason is we have got some really nasty storms that'll be moving through the northwest Bahamas in these afternoon hours. I wanted to come on live and we will track these live as we go through the early afternoon hours for us here. You can see this is the live radar data coming out of Miami. And we're going to have some nasty storms for places like Walker's Key and Grand Bahama. It's approaching Andros and New Providence. It's just raced through the Bimini area. This squall line of storms has prompted severe thunderstorm warnings and tornado warnings for southern Florida earlier in the afternoon hours, and these are now racing across towards the east. So again, this live video is mainly going to be about tracking these storms in real time for our friends in the Bahamas. And we'll certainly get into a little bit broader perspective because this is a part of a massive storm system that's going to be impacting a good part of the Caribbean later in the week. It's not going to potentially bring the severe weather the Bahamas may see, but it is certainly going to bring some big impacts. So good to see you, friends, here. We're lighting things up right now. Appreciate it. And again, let everyone know that we're live right now. They can join us and we can track these storms together. So let's get into what's happening right now, because if you're viewing us in Grand Bahama, you get the idea of what's coming your way. Again, this is the live data out of the Miami radar. We're really starting to see the heavier storms now move into the western side of the island. Again, it hasn't made it as far east as High Rock, but it has made it as far to the west as places like Freeport and West End. And again, all of this is tracking off towards the east. Now, the Bahamas Department of Meteorology has issued a severe thunderstorm warning and gale warning for all of the northwest Bahamas for the remainder of the day. So this entire line, as it tracks, will have the opportunity for some severe weather. We can see winds 50, even 60 miles an hour, heavy downpours that could lead to some isolated flooding. And again, there's some spin in the atmosphere. We're going to have some rotation and the opportunity to see, some tornadic cells, some water spouts, some tornado potential. Again, all a water spout is a tornado over water. When it moves on shore, that's when it becomes a tornado. I want to switch over to our composite radar real quickly here. I'm going to take off the Miami radar. And the reason why I want to do this is I'm going to put this into motion over the last couple of hours, and we can see the progress of these storms. Now, unfortunately, this composite radar gets cut off here. I'll show you the Miami radar again, but you get the idea of what's coming. We had this bow echo feature, this big push of wind that moved offshore right over Bimini. I promise you, Bimini has gotten hammered. This line is still very solid all the way up towards Walker's Key. The strongest winds right now that I'm seeing are going to be moving into Andros and then potentially into New Providence. You can see that again. You see these fuchsia colors here at the end? That's a good push of wind that's going to be moving into that area. And again, this is a part of a very large, complex storm system that's actually moving through the southeast. There's actually a meso low up in the panhandle of Florida, which is actually producing a couple of tornado warnings right now. There are no active warnings outside of the large-scale severe thunderstorm warning for the Bahamas. But again, there's not a specific time frame. This is basically for the remainder of the day. The gale warning goes all the way until Tuesday. So you're looking at 3 days in a row of some really nasty storms coming into the Bahamas. All right, let's get back over to the Miami radar site. Going to throw that back on because we can look at a couple of different things. First of all, you can see this is the reflectivity. Obviously, stronger storms are coming in. These are what I call SLCs. They're scary looking clouds, okay? They have low bases. There's going to be some spin and some twist to them. That's the reflectivity. This is what we call the storm relative velocity. So in this product, and again, this is a live radar view out of Miami, I can actually sit here and look at this storm, this squall line, and we can pick out areas that's going to have some extremely strong winds. So for Grand Bahama, we have some decent winds coming in. Now, nothing is crazy. This is going to tell me if there's any twist in the atmosphere. When you see bright reds and bright greens next to each other, we call that shear. That means those are winds that are traveling in different directions. very close to each other. That would be indication of rotation. We'd be looking for that for water spouts. When you see the brighter areas, those are your stronger winds. And this is what ripped through Bimini, all right? And again, that's just in one wind direction, meaning that it's incoming. So the interesting thing is, if you look at this, the Miami radar site is here. The green winds are actually incoming towards the radar site. The red areas are winds going away. So there is wide scale shear within this complex, which is why the water spout tornadic potential is going to be with us. And then those winds again pick up just to the west of Andros, and look like there's about a 50 or 60, 64 mile an hour outgoing wind. So severe thunderstorm winds will be approaching Andros very shortly. As a matter of fact here, let me get back over to reflectivity. And you can see that's a healthy, nasty line of storms coming in. How close is it? Let's take a look at that. Let's go over to the spatial tools here. And I promise you guys, I'll be getting to your chat in just a second, but I really just wanted to set up what's happening here and now because I thought that was very important because these severe storms are approaching very quickly. So let's see here. Let me switch over to the line measurement tool. Let's see if it'll let me do that. Let's see here. Get off a query. So again, this really nasty part of the storm is just 20 miles away. These are moving east easily at 40 to 50 miles an hour. So in a 20 to 30 minute time frame, this will be moving over Andros, and then, and I'll get myself out of the way here, it'll be headed towards New Providence. So it's 60 miles away. So the leading edge of this nasty line of storms for Nassau, New Providence, you know, the Atlantis Resort, other areas in New Providence is probably in the 1 hour, 15 minute to 1.5 hour time frame away, 75 to 90 minutes away based on the time. But this is also the part of the system that's moving the fastest with the strongest winds. So really nasty weather coming in there. And again, this squall line extends all the way back down through the Straits of Florida. Now it is moving rapidly. That is one good thing. But I mentioned this in the video I just did a couple of hours ago that this is not going to be a clean system. Yes, we're going to have the strongest, nastiest storms right now, but there is going to be additional storms the next couple of days. And then we're also going to have that opportunity for some extremely strong winds to go along with it right on through Tuesday. Gale force warnings will be in effect for the Bahamas all the way through Tuesday afternoon. Let's look at the downdraft gust potential. So this is another product here. And again, with our live radar sites, and you know, we've invested in the resources to be able to show you this data, guys. Take a look at the downdraft potential. This is basically what are the potential gusts coming out of these storms. And you can see that for Andros, we're talking about some winds that could be gusting to 60 plus miles an hour. That's damaging winds in these areas, and that is where the stoutest line of that squall line is headed towards Nassau. Up for Grand Bahama, I don't expect it to be as strong, but there will still be, again, 40 to 45, that could still cause some problems. And we are potentially seeing that over West End. If you live in Grand Bahama right now, drop in the comment section below. Let me know what you're seeing out there and you know how things are going. Again, the weather's going to go downhill very quickly here. It is a squall line of storms. So, you know, it might be quiet where you are right now in the Bahamas, but it's going to go down pretty fast, and there would be winds of 40, even 50 miles an hour in that. Let's see what else we can show you here real quick. How about, let's see, I'm looking at a couple different products here. Wind shear itself. So again, where we have these bright reds, there's some wind shear, and you can see it up and down the squall line. Again, wind shear equals rotation, and that's certainly something that's going to come along with these storms. I hope it's not enough, but again, these low, shallow storms producing these, you know, dark, low clouds, and the opportunity for some rotation are absolutely possible here the next several hours for us. So again, back to our live radar. I'm going to switch over to the the Key West site just to see if that has a little bit better perspective on what's going on towards Andros. So let me see here. I might have to fire it back up. It's not letting me. Unfortunately, it's not letting me switch over to that site for some reason right now. Oh, there we go. All right, it just did. Oh, no, it didn't. It's not cooperating. That's fine. Miami's fine. Data might be down or something like that. But you get the idea. I mean, this is really, really, really stout line of storms. Now, one other thing I want to mention here as we get going, and then I'll get back to the chat and we'll start looking at things, is I want to show you the model. So let me get off of the live radar data for just a second. And then I want to go over to this HER model here. And I'm going to loop this out into time. Looks like we're getting some bad satellite data as well here. Let me loop this up. Let me get rid of the satellite data. And what I want to show you guys for the Bahamas is look at this system. So again, it's not what I call a clean system, meaning there's not one line coming through. We've got this meso-low in the panhandle of Florida right now. Look at this spin. Look at this twist, and look how it deepens. Again, if this were a warmer month, we would probably be talking about some kind of tropical storm. But this is a broad mid-latitude cyclone. A lot of that spin is at the mid-levels of the atmosphere, but look at it wrap up right over the northwest side of the Bahamas. I mean, look at that spin. So this is going to take you, let me get to the model time frame. You can see it right there. So if you look at the top left-hand side of your screen, that's our model time frame starting from this afternoon right on through Monday and Tuesday. Look at that little pinhole right there. This is going to be really nasty weather for places like Walker's Key and Grand Bahama and Abaco and Eleuthera and Andros and Bimini right on through Tuesday. You're going to get some healthy storms, but you're also going to get gale force winds coming out of the north at 30 plus knots and stronger gusts as well. So small craft are actually urged to remain in port through the remainder of the storm through Tuesday. We're going to have sea conditions in the offshore waters easily over 10 feet. There's going to be some long period swells. Things are going to be even kicked up in the nearshore waters as well, 5 to 7 feet. But again, severe thunderstorm warning, all of the northwest Bahamas for the remainder of today. Gale warning is in effect all the way through Tuesday because, again, these impulses of energy in this wrapped up area of low pressure developing just north of the Bahamas. It could even develop right over Grand Bahama and Walker's Key. It's not out of the question, but closer to where that low is, you can see there's still some pretty nasty heavy rain and storms. Again, flood potential is there as well. So we get the severe weather threat today, guys. We get the potential tornadic storms. We get the potential severe storms. But over the next 3 days, we also could have some flooding of low-lying areas to go along with some extremely, extremely strong winds. And this whole system will have an impact for a broad area of the Caribbean. I will show you that coming up in just a second. I mean, again, obviously the main focus of this live right now is going to be what's happening currently in the Bahamas, but I can certainly go over kind of the impacts in a broad scale as well. Let me get back over to the composite data here, put this into motion, and I'm just gonna let this run, and I'll take a look at your live chat. First of all, thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it, guys. Good to see you again. It's been a little while since we've been live, hasn't it? But again, you just never know when weather's going to be cropping up here in the Bahamas and the Caribbean. I mean, obviously, as we get a little bit closer to summer, we get a little bit closer to hurricane season, there'll be much more to talk about from time to time, but it has been an active winter, hasn't it? I imagine a lot of you have had way more rain than you expected, certainly some extremely strong winds, and the easterlies have been howling, and now we have this nasty system coming into the northwest Bahamas. So let's see what's going on here, guys. And again, thanks for joining us. A bit of an impromptu, but I'd certainly appreciate it. Weather Trackers asked, will this affect islands such as Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, and Haiti? The answer is yes. Rain chances will be going up with those areas. If you haven't picked up a north wind in that area yet, you will. And I'll show you that in the broad perspective coming up here. We'll take a close look at those areas in just a minute. I'll get through the chat here and then we'll kind of go through the rest of the Caribbean. But again, I really want to focus on, we're getting the storms moving into Grand Bahama right now. So the weather going downhill in West End and in Freeport. Usha asks, will this affect Cuba? Yes, it will. Same situation. You guys are obviously a little bit closer. If I go back over to the next rad here and turn back on Miami and then get rid of the composite. And again, I need to talk to the developer as to why we're not getting that data to come all the way down. You can see it's scraping the northern side of Cuba right now. And again, I'm hoping that at some point in time, I'll be able to access the Key West radar if it wants to behave. Actually, not really sure why it's not behaving right now because I was just testing it out before I came back on, and it was. Yeah, I might have to reset the computer. I don't want to do that right now. But for Cuba, and it's just like the Bahamas, there's additional waves of energy coming in. So this is just one piece of energy coming through right now. There will be additional storms for Cuba coming up in the next couple of days, and I'll show you that as well. Thanks for your question. Charles says, good afternoon from Nassau. Thanks for the update. I appreciate it, Charles. Hey, drop me a line and let me know how it's going there as well. Again, your weather is going to be going downhill in the next couple of hours. As a matter of fact, for Charles and others in that area, here's what I want to do. Let's do this. Let me go back over to the model, and we'll do a really, really short time frame here. We'll go from 2 o'clock to, let's say, just about, nope, that's the wrong day. Too far out. We'll go from 2 o'clock to 8 o'clock. And again, this is the HER model. This model updates hourly in a very high resolution. It's a fantastic model. I use it very frequently for the Bahamas because it is a part of the domain of this actual model here. So let's see here. Get it back on. It's going to require me to reset this. There's so many things I can do behind the scenes here, guys. It just sometimes takes a little bit to basically drive the system, if you will. But again, you can see that on the HER model, the storm's racing through New Providence. So let's stair step it. I'll let it loop one more time and we'll pause it. So this is basically in the next couple of hours. Looks like the HER might be slightly behind. I mean, it's saying this is 2:30 and the storms are kind of more just about what? 40 miles to the west of Andros, so they might be a little bit slow, but you get the idea. So the weather for New Providence begins to go downhill 4 to 5 o'clock, probably closer to 3:30 or 4. I think that the HER is slightly behind on the actual speed of this, which can happen a lot, especially when you get those bow echo features and one segment of the squall line gets pushed out in a faster manner. But also what's very interesting is as we get towards sunset, it almost enhances some of the activity. You see these spots here? It's almost a blow up of stronger convection, and that would be over Eleuthera, including Dunmoretown, and then Abaco, trying to clear out for Grand Bahama. But you get the idea that between now and about 7, 8 o'clock, it's going to be nasty. And you can see that for my friend who was asking in Cuba, that kind of line situated there just on the northern coastline. Now, if I extend this out one more time and loop it up, you'll see what I'm talking about is, again, pieces of energy, waves and chunks coming through and then dropping through. And again, kind of that grid stops right there, but I'll show you the GFS coming up. It's going to be pretty nasty. It's a really, really complex storm system with a lot of energy. There is a lot of energy with this system that'll be moving through over the next couple of days, which is the reason why I'm on live right now. Appreciate it, guys. Let's see. Okay. Let's see, Eric Rose says, thanks. Hey, how you doing? From New Providence. Hey, appreciate you, Eric. Thanks for coming in. Hello, Eddie. How are you? Good to see you as well. Certainly appreciate you coming back in here. Puerto Rico, yes. Oh, I love it. Thank you, Eddie. Michael says, what about Jamaica? There's no threat for Jamaica. We'd like to know if Jamaica, any threat of a hurricane. Well, Michael, the good news is obviously we're not in hurricane season. This is not going to be a tropical system, but this is going to be a very broad storm system that will be impacting a very large area here as we go through the week. So let's go ahead and get into that right now. So let me show you the wide view. I'm going to zoom it back out here. All right, so you get the idea of what's going to be happening, and then we'll switch over to our GFS model, and we'll go out 5 days. So there's a couple of things to note here. I'll show you the rain first, and then we'll look at the winds. So obviously, the immediate impacts are in the Bahamas right now, all right, with the line of severe storms, and then the gale force winds through Tuesday. But this storm system is going to be wrapping and spinning down north winds all the way through most of the northern Caribbean and the western Caribbean, and even portions of the Leeward Islands. We'll see a north wind and more rain. One thing the models have been doing the last couple of days is making things wetter for places like the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, the U.S. and British Virgin Islands, and the northern side of the Leeward Islands as well. There will certainly be some rain in the Cayman Islands and Cuba and Jamaica. And I've already mentioned that in the last couple of videos where the rain chances going up. But one thing I have seen is that the rain chances are going higher in these areas. And even for the ABC Islands, we'll pick up some showers as well. So let's see how this plays out with the rain in Jamaica. I'll zoom in first there. And again, it's been relatively dry. We've had a few spotty showers the last couple of days, but we'll just see a little bit more in the way of passing rain. There may not be anything too concentrated in Jamaica, but certainly the rain chance will be going up. If nothing else, we are going to pick up a north to northwest wind for a time, and we are going to see the humidity drop a bit. You get a little bit of a break from some of the heat And again, I'm sure you could use some rain for Kingston and Portmore and Spanish Town and Montego Bay and Mandeville and Maypen and the Grill and Port Antonio. And we'll have a better opportunity tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday, probably begins to fade a little bit on Thursday and Friday as well. So again, rain chances at least improving there. Now the rain chances will be even higher for the Turks and the Caicos, of course, a little bit closer to the system, and even Haiti and the Dominican Republic. And again, this is such a broad scale system. The good news is we're not going to have the rain shadow effect with this one, with the winds kind of spinning in out of the north. So even places like Port-au-Prince and Lacaille will have the opportunity for some rain. Santo Domingo and Punta Cana, same thing. Now again, this is also going to kick up surf and sea conditions as well. So for any mariners in Santo Domingo, maybe some billfish in there this time of the year. Got to worry about that for some rough conditions there. Now, there you go for San Juan and Ponce and Arecibo, and then Road Town, St. Thomas and St. Croix, St. John, of course, as well. We'll get a nice little blast of rain. Now, Puerto Rico has had some overnight rain into the morning hours, but now we're going to get more widespread rain here, guys. So let me just kind of show you the time frame on that. It'll begin to move in kind of late Tuesday and then into Wednesday and Thursday. Nice little moisture-laden air coming through, maybe even some heavier rain as well. And this could include places like Anguilla, St. Kitts and Nevis, Barbuda and Antigua, Montserrat could be included in this, St. Bartholomew. All of these areas of the northern Leeward Islands could have the potential for some heavier rain. Some of this will drift into Dominica and Martinique and Barbados, but generally speaking, it's a little bit farther off towards the north. But obviously, you can see the wide-scale impacts. I mean, look when I zoom this out, this low will be headed up towards Bermuda and just going to blast them again with 40 and 50 knot winds. Speaking of those winds, I'll switch over to our wind vector product here. I love this thing because it gives us a good idea of everything. Now, it's going to take a slight second to loop this up here. There's so much data that goes on this map that it actually takes a ton of memory. So it just takes a little while to get everything on the map loaded over a 5-day period. But once it does, what you're going to see is that deepening low off of the northern Bahamas, and then how much of a north wind that we get all the way into the western Caribbean. As I let that load up, let me go back over to our chat here. And again, I appreciate you very much. Good to see you guys. Again, this is kind of an impromptu thing, but if you know anyone who lives in the Bahamas right now, if nothing else, just give them a heads up. Tell them about the channel, but more than anything, give them that information. Let them know that there's some really nasty weather that's going to be headed their way here in the next couple of hours, if they're not already seeing it. If they live in Grand Bahama, they've already gotten some of that activity. So hopefully this thing is almost done loading. I always load this up before I do the videos because it takes so long. But here you go. Let's take a look at this together. This is a massive low. So again, it deepens or gets stronger over the Bahamas Monday, Tuesday, races towards Bermuda. But look what it does to the Caribbean winds the rest of the time. Look at these winds shifting out of the west to eventually northwest. So as we get into Wednesday and Thursday, I mean, all the way down towards Panama and Costa Rica and the ABC Islands, they have a northerly component to their wind. It's only for basically the Windward Islands, and I mentioned this in the last video, especially in the member video for Barbados, it's mainly a southeast wind. That's the only area of the Caribbean that doesn't have a bit of a west to northwest wind midweek. So this can be still humid for Trinidad, Tobago, and Barbados, and they're not going to have as much rain, but look how deep this low is. And again, the whites on this map are winds of over 30 knots. The pinks and purples are winds of over 20 knots. And this is just a big pole of north wind. So, in Kingston, we're going to stay with this north breeze. For Jamaica, again, I'm going to let this loop one more time. Again, we're starting off right now with a south wind. That'll turn west, that'll turn northwest. It will freshen up as the front comes in, and then those winds will actually stay out of the north the next couple of days. So you'll get a better rain chance. And look, if nothing else, enjoy the cooler and slightly drier air. The dew points, right, will come down a bit with the north wind. The humidity will come down as well. But just look at this, spin right on through Hispaniola and Puerto Rico and the US and the British Virgin Islands. So big changes are coming, and I'll highlight that in the videos ahead for the rest of the week. But to answer the question of, will this system impact me? The answer for most of us is yes. It's just in a variety of ways. The only severe weather is going to be in the Bahamas today, but rain chances up, winds north, cooler, drier air to go along with some showers. I say drier air behind the push of rain that we're going to get. So if nothing else, again, the humidity come down a bit. But this is a very, very impressive storm system. Okay, let's get back over to what's happening right now in the Bahamas. So I'm going to switch back over to our Miami radar site. And again, we'll kind of keep an eye on this as well. So it pops up. Here we go. Let's get into the here and now. Storms are moving into Grand Bahama as we speak. West End, Freeport, Lucaya, High Rock. Weather going downhill. There is a severe thunderstorm warning in general for the Northwest Bahamas for the remainder of the day. That from the Bahama Department of Meteorology. Now again, it doesn't mean that there is an active severe thunderstorm occurring in your area, but the opportunity for severe storms, including waterspouts and tornadoes, will be with us here for the remainder of the afternoon hours. And again, this line extends all the way through places like Abaco, and it's really beginning to move into Andros as well. So, I mean, you can see these bright areas here. That's very high reflectivity, okay? That's a very strong storm moving into the northern side of Andros right now. If you know anyone who lives in either San Andros or Andros Town, again, there are some pockets of population on Andros. It's not the most populated island here in the Bahamas, but there are some towns, especially on the eastern side of the island. Give them a heads up. Now, obviously, down the road, we've got New Providence, which is not that far away. So this is one area of concern because this appears to be the strongest part of this line. Again, you notice that it's out a little bit farther east than the rest of the line. We call that a bow echo. What happens is we get a push of wind out of the west, which shoves that part of the line segment a little bit farther out. That's the apex of the bow. It's almost like a bow and arrow, right? And that's where we have the strongest winds. And typically, it's also where we can see the most rotation as well. So let's look at the velocity product. And I mean, look, these are some really strong winds right now. We are getting a little bit farther away from the Miami radar site, but still close enough where we can take a look at, you know, it's going to be 40, 50, maybe even 60 plus mile an hour winds, and, you know, relatively surface based as well. I don't see a lot in the way of rotation, which is good, but there might be pockets of rotation here. And again, what I'm looking at in this product is red pixels close to green pixels. The brighter they are, the stronger the winds. So this area right here would be one that I would be concerned about. Notice we have strong incoming winds and then relatively strong outgoing winds. So what that means is that there's shear. There is winds going in different directions, very close to each other. When I worked in Oklahoma, this is all we would do. We would just be tracking tornadoes using these velocity products all the time. But it obviously certainly helps out in this situation as well. Notice as we get up towards Grand Bahama, your greens and your reds are not as strong. That is good news. I think the tornado potential for Grand Bahama is lower, but it's certainly not zero. Certainly could still be some water spouts as well. And again, you don't want to be out in the water, open waters right now. You want to be in port. And you're actually urged to stay in port through Tuesday because the gale warning continues all the way through Tuesday as well. So that's the storm relative velocity. Let's look at some wind shear here. And again, from time to time, we're peaking up some wind shear a little bit farther down to the south towards St. Andros, the western side of Andros in general. And let's see here. Let's go over to our gust potential. Notice as well how significant this line is. There's not one break in the action for the opportunity for some winds. All right, this is a very stout squall line that's coming through, which is basically why I'm on right now. And again, I appreciate you coming in. Hi, Paul. How are you, buddy? Paul, one of our members here at Meteo Mundo. I appreciate you. Good evening from Manchester, England. By the way, props to Paul for being a member here at Meteo Mundo and joining us from England. I appreciate that. Paul says he's traveling to Cuba, Varadero, next Tuesday. How's it going to be? Paul, is that 2 days from now or is that 9 days from now? Let me know. If it's 2 days from now, this system is going to be impacting Cuba. If it's 9 days from now, we can talk about it a little bit more in the future, but just let me know, and I'm happy to answer your question, Paul. And if you have a question about the forecast, let me know. I mean, obviously, I want to keep a really close eye on what's happening in the Bahamas right now, but from time to time we can segment into other things. Weather trackers asked, so no severe storms for Jamaica and Cayman. I don't expect it. I'll keep an eye on it. The storms will be moving in tomorrow and Tuesday, maybe even through Wednesday. At this point in time, I would expect them to just have some wind, right? And a little bit, it could be some thunderstorms, but probably just some good downpours. Let me know. But generally speaking, when I was looking at the instability product, all of the energy is much closer to the Bahamas because that's where our area of low pressure is. It's wrapped up. It's amazing though that again, this goes all the way down to this area because the system is so large, but certainly the bulk energy with this is going to be up in the Bahamas. So no, I don't really expect any severe weather, but I do expect at least the chance for a couple of storms, but if nothing else, a better chance for rain for Cayman and the, for the Cayman Islands and for Jamaica. Paul says 2 days from now. All right. So Paul, maybe you were just joining us. I'm happy to answer that question. Let me go back over to our models here. And let's see here. I'll probably just loop it up from here more than likely. So to answer your question, Paul, give me an idea of where it is on the island. My Cuba geography is not as great as basically almost every other island, I'll be quite honest. So let me know what part of the island it is. But just so you can see, Paul, that we continue to see at least the chance for some rain probably through Wednesday, Thursday, and then it should begin to clear up after that as well. Now, the reason why, of course, is again, this is such a broad system. You can see that there's still some spin. As I've mentioned, this is not a clean system, which means it's not coming in one piece. There's waves of energy, impulses coming out of the eastern side of the Gulf of Mexico as that area of low pressure ramps up in the northern Bahamas. That's going to spell at least some shower chances through Wednesday, and it should begin to get better for you there, Paul, later in the week. The winds are also going to be a big story as well. We'll go over to the wind vector product here and put this back into motion. Again, it'll be cooler for Cuba over the next couple of days behind this. We're gonna have really fresh north winds through Wednesday, and then the wind should die out a little bit and come back out of the northeast. But again, probably when you fly in on Tuesday, I would expect there to be some showers and storms around. I would expect Wednesday to still be relatively wet. We'll start to pick up that north wind, really beginning to push in the drier air late Wednesday, Thursday. So perhaps you'll get the opportunity for a little bit of rain early in your time, but I'm thinking the weather looks a little bit better a little bit later in the week. So enjoy it. Appreciate you and appreciate the question. All right, back over to our reflectivity product here. And again, our satellite data is acting a little wonky. I'm going to do one thing real quick, guys. I'm actually going to switch off just for 1 second. It's going to give me the opportunity to reboot something. I think if I do this, I'll be able to get the Key West radar to come back on. As I'm doing so, again, thank you for joining us. If you haven't subscribed to Meteo Mundo, do it. Again, we forecast for the Caribbean and the Bahamas. When we need to, we come on live just like this right here. And we'll track things. We'll track hurricanes, we'll track tropical storms, we'll track severe weather. It's all a part of what we do here, and we're happy to do it. And again, make sure you hit the notification bell because that way you know when we are live. And we go from there. And again, I thank you for your support. All right, so let's get back into what's happening here. I'm going to let the old system ramp back up, get back over to our next ride. And again, we've invested a lot of resources in this technology to be able to show you all of this. The main story right now, again, is the severe threat going into the Bahamas as we speak. Let's see. Haha, that's exactly what it did. All right, I got the Key West radar back. Sometimes this thing, when I switch back and forth through so many things, sometimes it just hiccups a bit, and just a nice little reset, just like you would do on your personal computer, helps out. So this is the Key West radar, but it does allow, for my friend in Cuba who asked the question, the Key West radar does go deeper into Cuba. So just so you see that there are some nice storms right now, some healthy storms over the central and the western side of the island. I can loop this up for you as well. We'll go over the last couple of hours for us here, and we'll look at the movement. They should generally be moving from west to east, and that's exactly what they're doing. It does look like there's a nice little line right through the central part of the island. Everything is moving off towards the east, but again, additional showers will be redeveloping there. Okay, now one of the main reasons I wanted to do this is I was very curious as to what we were going to see out of Andros with this. So I'm looking at a couple of different products here. Looks like I might have, yeah, there we go. So what I'm doing right now is I'm actually looking at the different reflectivity tilts, going a little bit higher in the atmosphere just to get a better idea. And again, for some reason, I'm not on composite, am I? Let me take the composite off. All right, so we're on level 3 right now. Okay, here we go. Let me loop this up. Yeah, nice little push down there too. I mean, Andros is going to get hit pretty hard. We're getting probably just far enough away from the Key West radar site, we start to lose some of that reflectivity. But I was very curious to see. I mean, that's pretty nasty right down the northern side of Cuba. All right, let's get back over to the Miami radar. I think it gives us the better perspective. By the way, I have access to what's called the terminal Dopplers as well. It's for all of the airports around the area, but this is a good idea of what's happening right now. Andros is getting hammered. That's a nasty storm. And again, when we see these storms come on shore, there's a friction difference, right? The water is relatively smooth. The land is relatively rough. That's a natural area to get a spin in storms. We see it all the time, okay? You know, in Florida, when the storms come on shore from the Gulf of Mexico, they'll spin up some severe weather and tornadic activity along the western coastline. When the storms begin to exit the east side, they spin up water spouts and tornadoes along the eastern side. So it obviously is inherent in what we're going to be seeing in the northwest Bahamas as well. As these storms move in, there is the opportunity for some spin. That's some strong winds. Those are probably winds of 50 to 60 miles an hour in Andros right now. And this is headed towards Nassau. So that's probably my biggest area of concern is going to be Andros into Nassau. Let's talk about the timing of this real quick, because I think it does bear a lot of watching. If I go over to our spatial tool here, and we'll take a look at the timing. So this is the nastiest part of the cell to the western side of New Providence. We're now down to 38 miles. It's about 45 minutes away. We're certainly less than an hour. These things are hauling. These puppies are hauling probably 40, 50 miles an hour right now. And again, that reflectivity here, if I query that, is probably over 70. It's over 65 dBz. That's a lot. I thought it might even be closer to 70 in a couple of spots. But what that is saying is that there is very high reflectivity or a lot of wind and a lot of rain coming out of this particular cell. So it's about it. Tracking basically due east. I suppose if we get extremely lucky, maybe this misses New Providence south, but that last little update on the radar actually pushed it slightly farther to the north. So yeah, it's probably going to get really nasty there. And again, if you live in this area and you look west, you're going to see what I call SLCs, scary looking clouds, low bases, dark gray bases, and there'll probably be a little bit of spin to them as well. That's a nasty squall line that's going to be moving through. All right, let's go back out a little bit farther. And again, up towards Grand Bahama and Walker's Key as well. Look, Walker's Key, relatively speaking, has been okay so far. Heavier showers and storms beginning to move into that area. Let's get back over to the query mode here. And for my friends in Grand Bahama, now we're starting to see the rain make it as far east as High Rock. There's a nice little cell over West End right now as well. So again, just heavier rain moving through. Same thing for Freeport. One thing I could do here, I believe, if you give me 1 second, I may not be able to find it right away. I wanted to see if I could drop the alpha just a little bit on this thing. They updated this recently. Let's see, this might work. Yeah, there we go. All right, just a little bit. And the only reason why I wanted to do this is obviously now the map becomes a little bit more into play. I'm going to crank this back up to 100% in a second, but you get the idea now that when I've taken the alpha down, or the coloring of the actual reflectivity, we can see the island a little bit clearer. So west end towards Freeport here, far western side of Grand Bahama, pretty healthy storm working its way in. And again, back down towards Andros as well. This thing is rocking on shore right now with winds of probably 50 to 60 miles an hour. Tiffany says, Happy New Year. Not a lot of rain in New Providence. Tiffany, I appreciate you. Thank you for joining us. Also, get ready. If you live in New Providence, Tiffany, again, this nasty storm over Andros is coming your way in about 45 minutes. Paul says, thank you. You're going for 21 days. 12th visit to Cuba. Enjoy it, Paul. I hope you have an opportunity to still tune into the Meteo Mundo videos here. We'll keep you up to date. I can promise you that, and enjoy it. 21 days. Wow. Sounds like fun. I don't know if I've ever been on a 21-day vacation. I'm jealous, Paul. That's awesome. And a very cool area to visit as well. All right, so again here, just looking at this line of strong to severe storms, if maybe you're just tuning in and we've actually had a few more watchers come in here, kind of an impromptu live because of the storms. I've been watching this the last couple of days, but I knew that as this line moved offshore and headed towards the northwest Bahamas, it had an opportunity to bring some severe weather. And that's why we're on live here. We got you covered at Meteo Mundo. Anytime there is a threat like this, we'll come on and we'll kind of work our way through it together. Thank you again for liking the videos. Thank you for subscribing. If you're not a subscriber, if you want to know when we go live like this, click the notification bell and let your friends know about us as well. We appreciate the support here as we continue to grow. And as I've mentioned, there's a lot of really cool things coming in 2024. This is part of it, to be able to show you things like this on a live basis. And just to prove that I'm live, I can put on the timestamp there. And again, what are we here? About 2:42 on the afternoon hours of this Sunday. So again, the main story right now is severe storms, 50 to 60 mile an hour winds, waterspout tornado threat, gale warnings in effect, and a flood threat for the Bahamas. Your nastiest storms are moving through as we speak. They will move across the northwest Bahamas between now and the early evening. But this is not the only wind and rain and storms you're going to get. There will be at least some showers and maybe isolated storms tomorrow and Tuesday. And a gale warning is already in effect right now and lasts all the way through Tuesday. Small craft should be staying in port through Tuesday. We're going to have long period swells in the double digits foot height out there in the open waters of the Atlantic. And even some of the sheltered locations could have 5 to 7 foot seas. So the interesting thing is that this is something I'm going to be closely monitoring here over the next 72 hours. It's the storms this afternoon, but it really is a massive wind threat for Monday and Tuesday as this area of low pressure deepens or gets stronger right over the northwest Bahamas. All right, so again, what I'm tracking at this point in time, I'm going to go ahead and ramp this alpha back up to 100 so we get those nice bright colors and you can get an idea, is some really strong storms moving over Andros right now. Andros Town, St. Andros. It's headed towards Nassau. Eventually it'll be heading towards Eleuthera, Dunmore Town. Keep that in mind. The storms are slightly weaker up in Grand Bahama. They're a little bit stronger in the offshore waters to the south. Here's Abaco and our friends in Marsh Harbor as well. And again, this will be moving in. If nothing else, if we don't get the severe threat this far north, and I think we're marginal right now, the opportunity for some isolated flooding in some low-lying areas to go along with this. Obviously, we could have some tidal issues the next couple of days as well, especially when we're going to eventually be cranking in north winds of over 30, maybe even 40 knots. The wind threat the next couple of days is going to be significant as well. And this is just a really solid line of storms. Again, there is a broad severe thunderstorm warning for all of the northwest Bahamas for the remainder of the day, issued by the Bahamas Department of Meteorology. Again, not specific to any one location or any one time frame, but that's part of the reason why I got you covered here. We're looking at this live, and I can tell you right now, that's a severe thunderstorm moving over the northern sides of Andros and headed towards Nassau. So let's take a look at that cell a little bit closer, because it will be moving into a pretty populated area here quite shortly. When we look at the velocity product for us here, let's see. Oh, let's see here. Let me go back to level 2. It'll take a second to crank back on. There we go. And we'll go back over to base velocity. Yeah, that's some strong wind. Whew. Goodness gracious. All right, let's see what we got here. And again, these are a little bit higher up. There's some 40 to 50s right there. It's a little bit more cluttered. We're a little bit farther away from the site. So what I would expect, and I think this is going to be very common, you're going to have some outflow winds ahead of the main line of around 40 miles an hour. It's not severe, but it's going to really kick things up. So not that far off of the western side of New Providence right now. We're going to probably pick up some 40-mile-an-hour winds. Then as the main storm system comes in, maybe right behind the heaviest rain, could have a maximum of 40 to 50, maybe even higher than that. Again, we're shooting a little bit high right now, relatively speaking. Closer you are to a radar site, you know, that beam inherently with the curve of the Earth goes a little bit higher in the atmosphere the farther you are away. I am at the lowest tilt level here at a 0.5 degree for those who know radar data. Gust potential, again, is absolutely significant. And that one's going to be a concern. This is just a derivative product. So with this radar data, we have all of these severe weather parameters that I can look at in real time. And so there are algorithms that are working behind the scenes that are cranking out this data. And so what it's saying is we have gust potentials up to 60 miles an hour with these storms. It's taking both the outbound and the inbound storms. And I mentioned as well that I saw what I thought was a wind maximum, south of Grand Bahama, and there you go. So that could be headed to Abaco. This little push of wind right here, 50 to 60 miles an hour. I think Grand Bahama is going to be okay. 40 to 50, be a little bit more concerned about some of the flood threat there eventually. But you can see that up and down this line, we can really pick out where the strongest winds actually are. And again, notice that they're in a kind of a comma shape, like that. Call those bow echoes. That's winds being pushed out of the storms. Basically, there's a push of mid-level winds that rushes down into the low levels of the storms and pushes that wind out. The problem with that is you get the strongest winds there, and it inherently gives us some rotation as well. How we doing, guys? Hello, Richard. Watching from Turks and Caicos. Julia says the weather is changing in Nassau. Good evening. Yes, absolutely. And it will. It will very shortly, and in a bad way. Strong to severe storms. If you look out the western horizon, you're going to see it coming, guys. And it's going to be coming with some energy. It's going to be pretty nasty out there. I'm just going to look at a couple of different products here. This is wind shear. I am looking at this in real time, just like you guys are, analyzing this every time we get a new radar sweep. We'll look at echo tops. Again, that's a pretty good echo. That's a pretty high up in the atmosphere. So this is how tall are the thunderstorms. I would like to remind you it's early February. You know, we can get 40, 50,000 plus tops to these thunderstorms pretty easily in July and August and September. But the fact that this is a thunderstorm with a top of over 30,000 feet is very, very impressive. Very impressive. Tall storms for this time of the year. Still going to be shallow, low bases. You know, it's going to be close to the horizon with some darker clouds there. Again, if you're just tuning in, I call them SLCs. Just came up with that term when I was working in television as a way to describe it to the viewers, scary looking clouds. And that's exactly what we're going to be seeing here as well. Alrighty, let's see. Let's go back over to our reflectivity. Yeah, there's even a stronger push of wind right now. I think I'm going to stay on through this, passing through Nassau. I know we have several viewers who are watching us in Nassau right now. So I want to let our engineers, Jim and Michael, behind the scenes know that we'll probably be going on through this getting into Nassau. I just think it's probably important. And you know what? That's what I'm here for. So again, if you want to support us, you can find out the ways to do so. Maybe like Paul and others, you can want to become a member. You can do that. It's 99 cents a month. You want to drop a little thanks in, I appreciate you here. But this is why we do this, guys. And again, there are a lot of neat things that are coming to Meteo Mundo this year that we're working on behind the scenes right now to bring you an even more interactive experience. So I'm really excited to show you those things as we push forward in 2024, as the channel continues to grow, as you guys continue to tune in and watch and support us, and membership and viewership and subscribership continues to grow. It's a really great thing, and we're excited about all of it as well. And obviously, we're kind of always ramping up towards hurricane season, right? That's obviously always a big time here, but we can get these kinds of storms in the off season as well that certainly bear us coming on and talking about, and I'm happy to do that as we go through this Sunday afternoon. So again, if you're just tuning in right now, and we actually get a few more viewers here and there. Again, this was, like I said, kind of an impromptu one. Sometimes we know with like a hurricane or a tropical storm that we did at the end of last season, we know it's coming. We can put out a reminder, 12 hours in advance. But today I was like, you know what? I need to just go on. We'll just track these guys together. But again, my biggest concern right now is going to be what's happening in Nassau and New Providence in general. That's a pretty strong storm moving through. Let me get over to level 3 data here. Just a little bit cleaner sweep with that. Let's see here. Okay, so there's a couple different things that I can do as this is beginning to move in. So again, we'll just do this together. I hope you're interested in this. Let me know. Is this compelling? Are you guys down with this? Do you guys like what we're doing right now? Let me know in the comments section. Hi, Yolanda, watching from Freeport. Rainy and windy. Thank you, Yolanda. I appreciate it. Let me know kind of in general what you've been seeing. I'm assuming that you haven't had any actual severe weather, but just let me know how you're doing there in Freeport. And I really appreciate you tuning in, Yolanda. So this here allows us to look at the individual cells. All right. You can see that up and down this line, there are all these different cells that we can track. All right. And again, this is the algorithm tracking these cells. So there's a few things I can do here. First of all, I want to check and make sure that there's no actual rotation coming from any of these. All right. So this little green triangle is indicative of a hail signature right there. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. My atmosphere is probably a little bit too warm. And then I look at what's called mesocyclone. So we're looking at rotation. Is there any rotation in a broad perspective? Again, we would see a nice little icon pop up. I don't see that. That's decent news. That's just a lot of wind right now. Hopefully there's no rotation. TVS would be what we call a tornadic vortex signature. That would be if there was really a tornado on the ground ramping up. But again, we'll go back over to these cells here, and we can take a look at things. So let me put this into motion and we'll track these cells together. This is a really neat feature. Again, this is a pretty darn cool thing. So what you're looking at here is the Miami radar tracking the most stout cells. This is over the last 2 hours, okay? And we can see that. You notice the blue right there on the storm that I've been talking about? That is a more focused track, if you will. The other ones are just generalized storms, but this one here, it's really been on in the last 2 hours. And of course, your polygon is going to be the general movement. Now, it'll bobble back and forth, but generally these things are moving off towards the east at around 40 to 50 miles an hour. Valentino, how are you? Valentino was loving it, watching from New Providence. Hi, Valentino. Is love. I appreciate you. And again, this is going to be moving into New Providence. So I think there's no reason to not stay on. We'll just stay on through these storms getting through New Providence, and we'll watch them together. Let's see here. All right. So we can talk a little bit more about this cell. I believe it's going to let me query it here. Let me see. Yeah. All right. So in this cell, I'm going to zoom in a little bit more, and you guys can probably read that. It's moving east. Oh, it just updated. Love it. All right. It's moving east. Storm speed is 39 miles an hour, and the max DBZ is 61. Okay. So this cell, again, has speed of 40 miles an hour. Now, look, when a storm is moving 40 miles an hour, what's the minimum wind that it's going to bring to your area? 40 miles an hour. You get downdrafts and you get spin, you get rotation, which will increase that wind speed. But when a storm is moving 40 miles an hour, it is going to at least produce 40 mile an hour winds as it comes through. Pretty high max DBZ as well. Now we can start looking at this skit is putting it right over New Providence. Okay, so let's do this together. Real-time tracking. I freaking love it. Love it. All right, so we'll go from the area of most concern, which is right about here, to the western tip. We're 26 miles away. It's moving 40 miles an hour. So what do we got? 35 minutes? Is that about right? Did I do my math correctly and quickly enough? Let's say we got about 35 minutes before this nasty cell comes into the area. I think that's going to be the one to watch for us here. But again, this is the algorithm painting out its track, and it does put it over New Providence. All right, so we'll keep a close eye for my friends in New Providence. There are other areas that I'm, interested in and concerned about. But that's the strongest storm that we have going on right now. Let's see here. Is there anything else that I want to do with these cells to show you guys? We're continuously updating. Yep. We'll have the mesos come on if they need to, all of that. So I've set this up behind the scenes, but as we're doing this live, I always like to go back in and make sure that I've got everything kind of the way I want it for us here. The other thing we can do actually is, yeah, okay. So that's in. I can actually 3D tilt the radar, but I don't know how that's going to work this far out. I don't think I'm going to risk it. Here's our skit system. Yeah. So I'm looking at a couple things. So this one here, actually, let's see if I can identify this one. Okay. So what I'm doing now behind the scenes is I'm looking at the individual cells. And let's see how far this one is. Oh, perfect. Okay. So let's go back to that one actually. So we can look at a lot of the data when we look at the individual cells. So this one is the one that could potentially be headed towards Abaco a little bit later in time. But you can see all of the different data that this can provide. So it's moving at 33, 30% chance of hail probability, no rotation, no tornado. We like to see that. Hail probability was 80%. That's pretty impressive. So that's what I was looking at, probability of hail. Let's go to this one here. It's the same one. Okay. Let's go to the next one. There we go. And again, all the data coming on. So where is this one? This one is the one that's north of Andros, moving north into the east. 20% hail probability, severe hail probability, ½ inch. No rotation, no tornado. That's what I like to see. You don't want to see, you don't want to see these things talking about tornadoes. That one's a little too far north. This is the one right over Grand Bahama. All right, so let's look at the one right over Grand Bahama. Had a friend come on the chat here and say, you're watching, it's raining and windy. All right, so this one is basically right over the west end Grand Bahama right now, moving northeast at 25 miles an hour, 40% hail probability of less than ½ inch. Now, sometimes the algorithm can pick up a hail core, but it's above the surface, and the surface is warm enough that as the hail falls through, it melts, and it never reaches the ground. Or if it does, it's little pea-sized hail. There is no rotation in that one as well, so that is good news. All right, moving on down here. Let's see what we got on this one here. And I want to, oh, you know what? I want to show you something that's really cool with this actually as well. Let me go back to the one in Grand Bahama. So we're tracking this, right? So look what I can do here. It knows where the storm is and it knows its speed. We can sit here and just track this out in time, and you can see exactly when the storm is going to impact that area and how long it's going to be. Okay? Now obviously this is moving into open waters, but you get the idea that, if I were to zoom in really tightly here and then take the alpha back down so you could actually see the island a little bit more, notice that that cell is already offshore, okay? But again, I could sit here and track it out in time based on the algorithm that the radar was showing. Working our way down, I really want to get to the one cell that is over Abaco right now. It's not that one. We'll get to it eventually. Let's see. Not that one either. The problem is that I can't see their, there we go. I can't see their identifiers on here. They have an ID, it's a letter and a number. But anyway, here we go. All right, now we can take a look at this one. Let me get the spatial tool off camera. I want to know if a gale warning could require for us in Jamaica later today. Not that I have seen, Aston. I will be doing another video tomorrow and I'll let you guys know, but I have not seen a gale warning for Jamaica as of yet. The winds are really going to be picking up on Monday and Tuesday. So for this one, all right, so here it is. All right. It's not even, I don't even get to track this one. Boo. All right, so no hail, no rotation. That's great news. But strong storm. Winds are moving east at 40, max DBZ of 61. So there's a lot of wind, but there's not much else out of it right now. Yeah, speed is 40. I don't no TVS, no mezzo. It's not clicking any of the algorithms that would be of any grave concern here. So because of that, there's no actual track with it, but you get the idea. A couple of nasty cells over there. All right, cool. I love it. So let's get back to our high alpha. And let's see here. Put them all back on, all at one time. And again, if you're just tuning in, we're tracking some strong to severe storms in the Bahamas. Going live, doing that for you here on Meteo Mundo. This is a very impressive squall line that's moving through right now. It's thankfully, I think we're going to get some strong storms in places like Walker's Key and Grand Bahama. I'm hoping that the severe threat, it's just below that criteria. I think we're going to have winds of 40, but a heavy rain event and more wet weather and then gale winds for Monday and Tuesday are still in the forecast. This is a pretty decent storm south of Grand Bahama, trying to get towards Abaco right now. We'll be monitoring up and down that squall line, some really nasty stuff, but again, mainly offshore until you get, of course, to Andros. And that's where we have this one cell that I'll be watching that's going to be tracking towards New Providence and Nassau in general. Put this into motion over the last couple of hours. And again, you get the idea of what this line has been doing. It's a very solid squall line. It's been progressing. The heaviest cells are beginning to basically move through the northern sides of Andros right now. That'll be headed over New Providence here in probably less than a half hour, then eventually headed towards Eleuthera. But again, this is just one chunk of what's going to be a very nasty storm system for all of the Bahamas, and then eventually a good part of the Caribbean as well. Let me do this. We'll kind of reset things, and then, because I really want to spend the next 20 minutes or so focused in on New Providence. As it says, just done my preparation for zero other gale warning could be required for Jamaica soon. You got it, Aston. I'll keep you up to date. I promise. I got a lot of friends in Jamaica who watch the videos, and I promise you I will keep you up to date. As a matter of fact, give me just 1 second here. So to be clear, I don't issue these things, right? This is not from me or anything like that. Like the severe thunderstorm warning for the Bahamas is issued by the Bahamas Department of Meteorology. So let me see here if the Jamaica Department of Meteorology might have issued something. I think I was following them on X. Stand by. Could have sworn I was. All right, well, I don't see them right now. I'll look it up and I'll let you guys know. I'm actually surprised I can't find them though. It's fine, we got a minute. All right, I found them. Met service. I don't see anything issued as of yet. Why is it making me log in? I'm already logged in. Let me just go to their website real quick as well and just double check. So I don't see anything right now. All right, so they have winds reaching near gale force Monday and Tuesday. So they mention, and I agree with it, and we can look at the winds too. Mention near gale force. They haven't seen them actually issue an advisory or warning for the gale potential winds yet, but it makes sense. So near gale force winds Monday and Tuesday. So here you go. Hi Destiny, how you doing? Good afternoon. Yeah, Trinidad. It was the one area I mentioned, the Windward Islands. It was basically the only area of the Caribbean that's not going to have a north wind a little bit later on. Okay, so let's do this real quick. I know it took a second there to answer the question, but I'm happy to do so. Let me kind of set the stage in a very broad view here and show you how this is going to be impacting a good bit of us. So I'm going to get let's go over here to the wide rain. So again, Bahamas, severe storms this afternoon, but there's a good bit of us that'll be getting some impacts. Here we go. So again, area of low pressure trying to develop. Basically, it's over the northeast Gulf of Mexico right now, going to wrap up and get even stronger over the northern side of the Bahamas Monday and Tuesday. That is going to continue to plague them with gale force winds and some wind and rain. Now, this moisture goes all the way into the Cayman Islands and Jamaica and Hispaniola and Puerto Rico and the U.S. and the British Virgin Islands and at least the Leeward Islands, not the Windward Islands. We might even pull in some south winds to bring some rain for the ABC Islands. But this is a massive storm system. Now look, in general, it's not going to bring the severe weather potential that the Bahamas is going to see because the Bahamas is closer to that low where all the instability in the atmosphere is. But it's such a large scale feature, it's going to have wide ranging impacts for a good bit of us through at least Wednesday or Thursday of next week. Obviously, if you live farther west, like the Cayman Islands and Jamaica and the Turks and Caicos and Cuba, you'll get those impacts first. Then as the winds turn north and push to the south and to the east, places like Santo Domingo and the Dominican Republic in general, and Puerto Rico, and the U.S. and British Virgin Islands, and especially the Leeward Islands, we'll start to see those impacts as well. And again, could be some decent rain coming into these areas. So that's what the rain looks like over the next 5 days. And again, I have the main timeline on, I'll put on the model timeline, and you can see that loop. Again, today's the 4th, so Monday's the 5th. There's Tuesday, there's Wednesday, there's Thursday, working its way into the Leeward Islands. Now, we also have the wind. And so asking about the wind, I'll show you that as well. Let's see here. I'm hoping that because I've already loaded this thing once, it's not going to take forever to reload. It might though. Again, you know, I did reset the system. So this might take a second to load in, which is fine. But this will also give us the newest model data as well. My goodness. Oh, Bermuda. You're going to get hammered, guys. 40, 50 knot winds from this area of low pressure, like easy. Again, if this was, you know, the summer months, we'd be talking about a tropical system. No doubt about it. Let's see here. What is the ETA of the storm headed into Nassau? God's point of view, probably about 25 minutes. I'm going to go over this one more time, kind of for all of our friends who are watching right now, and then we're going to get into what's going on in the Northwest Bahamas and tracking that in real time for you here until it moves to the east of New Providence. So I think this thing is loaded up. Let's take a look at it. And again, you can, you know, look at where you live here, but notice that for a good part of the Caribbean, we turn our winds out of the north to northwest. A significant system. It will bring in some rain, it will bring in some wind, and eventually it'll bring in some cooler and drier air as well. Humidity will be dropping off a bit. Now, someone in the chat was from Trinidad, and my friends in Trinidad and Grenada, St. Vincent and the Grenadines and Barbados, not for you. Unfortunately, you stay with a southeast wind. It's actually going to be pretty darn warm and humid in this area over the next 5 days. Almost everyone else in the Caribbean picks up at least a day or two of cooler, refreshing air, except maybe from Dominica south. I think St. Lucia probably doesn't see a south wind either, but Bridgetown, on over towards Trinidad and Tobago and Grenada, you guys are going to stay with the southeast winds. And also, actually, the driest part of the area. ABC Islands, Aruba, Bonaire, Curacao, you guys do turn to a north wind again, at least for a day or two. The wind not as significant. But again, if you want to look at the winds here in Jamaica, because that was the question, I can do a couple of things here. I'm going to make these a little bit bigger. How about that right there? And then I can actually turn on these text vectors, okay? And what this does is it actually lets us see the winds. So again, today's the 4th, so this would be, I'll back it up till tomorrow. This is tomorrow afternoon. Now, these are west winds. The arrow is pointing where the wind is going. So these are west winds, and these are knots. So we're looking at, what, about 15 to 20 knots around Jamaica. And then I'll stair step it out. Winds getting stronger as we get into Tuesday. Winds absolutely getting stronger. You know, now we are talking about some winds, especially in the coastal waters to the north offshore, 20 to 25. Now the winds start to turn more out of the north diving down to the south, and they should begin to relax a little bit Tuesday night into Wednesday. So Aston, to answer your question, I believe late Monday and Tuesday, we're going to have strong winds. And if there were to be a gale warning, I believe it would be late Monday and into Tuesday for Jamaica. But it's good that you're taking the preps. It's absolutely good that you're taking the preps. Is there anything you need to prepare for in Trinidad? Nope. Warm and humid air. You're actually relatively quiet there, Destiny. I am in Cozumel at the moment. How you doing? Good. Let me know how it's going over there. Relatively quiet. You're going to get some storms in Cozumel from time to time. Boom, right there. Lovely spot, by the way. Your winds will be turning again, swinging around. You can see the winds there in Cozumel freshen up. Now, that's some strong wind. Let me back that up real quick. Look at that. Those are 30-plus knot winds. I don't know if you are travel jet setter, sorry, if you are on cruise ship, but that doesn't look like fun on a cruise ship, huh? I would imagine the cruise ships are going to be impacted by this storm pretty significantly, even like coming out of Port Canaveral and then going into Nassau could have some impacts. I mean, they'll probably still do it. I don't know, but I mean, massive winds. So for the Bahamas, look at these winds. Again, next couple days. This is going to be tomorrow afternoon. So again, as I mentioned, the strongest winds in general actually come in tomorrow and then into Tuesday, okay? So gale warning all the way through Tuesday already. Small craft, don't get out of here. Look at these. Look at that one right there. 46 knot wind right there. Look at that low. Look how spun up that thing is. This is a very impressive system for early February. A lot of wind with it. A lot of wind. We'll go back over to this, the arrows. That peach color, by the way, is 40 knot winds or higher. Bermuda, wish you guys the best. Man, that low moving right over. But look at these strong north winds for the next few days after. Rough conditions, man. And again, there will be some rain in the Bahamas tomorrow and Tuesday as well. Chunks of energy, impulses of energy still coming in from the eastern Gulf of Mexico will still spell that. All right, I think I have covered kind of the broad perspective to my satisfaction. So I want to get back into tracking this storm that'll be moving into Nassau and New Providence. And as I do so, friends, again, if you want to help us out and just like this video, if you're not a subscriber and you want to keep following us, hit that subscribe button. I appreciate you. If you want to be a member, hit that membership button. You get exclusive access to some more detailed videos. We'll always go live on the main channel for stuff like this. The biggest thing we're going to do here in Meteo Mundo is keep you guys safe and ahead of any bad weather, hurricanes, severe storms, whatever it is. That's the reason why we're doing this here. So let me switch over to our level 3. Boom. Let's get our cells back on. Boom. Okay. Now we can track this storm coming in to New Providence. It's getting closer. If you live in New Providence, drop me a line. Let's see. Travel just says, no, I'm on the island of Cozumel as we speak. Enjoy. Enjoy. Not on a cruise ship. That's a good thing. Wind and rain, it should get a little bit better by midweek. Paulo says, here in Freeport, it's pretty calm. What should we be looking for over the next 4 hours? So the storm the main line is pushed through. I would expect there to be the potential for some rain to redevelop. You're going to really want to watch out for the wind, though, tomorrow and Tuesday, and it will still bring in some showers. But this line is a severe weather threat. I don't expect there to be more severe storms behind this Monday and Tuesday, but certainly some wind-driven showers will be coming through. Okay, so let's get into this cell right here as it's getting in closer to New Providence. We'll take a look at just how close we are right now. And again, this cell is moving right about 40 miles an hour. It's actually picked up speed. It's now moving 44. Now, again, what the radar is doing is it's picking up on kind of the most stout part. But look, this whole line is strong. This is going to be ripping right through New Providence. I don't think we're going to avoid the strongest part. So don't be fooled that just because it's picking up this little cell here and moving it north, we're going to miss, because that part's not going to miss, and that probably is not going to miss as well. So now we're moving at 44 miles an hour. So it's even picked up a little bit of forward speed. First of all, if nothing else in this leading edge, the wind's going to really be picking up. So from this most stout part of the storm, we're now about 11 miles away from the western side of the island, and we're about 23 miles away from Nassau. So we're about a half hour away from the actual cell getting over Nassau in all the areas there. So again, there is a general severe thunderstorm warning for the Northwest Bahamas issued by the Bahamas Department of Meteorology. This cell is probably teetering on that criteria. If we were to look at, winds of 60 plus miles an hour higher. Let me get this spatial tool off of here. Boom. Okay. Let's see here. I want to get back over to this cell tracking mode and then bring these on. So what I'm looking at behind the scenes here, guys, is you can see that we have this line of storms. We have all these individual cells. Okay. Boom. Now we got a little something to worry about. That's a meso. What that is rotation. And again, the Miami radar is picking up on this. So it is picking up on some rotation. Now, if there's a decent piece of news, this looks to be mid-level rotation and not low-level rotation. Low-level rotation is obviously your tornadic cell, right? On the ground. Water spout is simply a tornado that's over water. When it moves on shore, it becomes a tornado. But what this is showing is that there is rotation within this cell. That's why we have that little icon spinning for you right now. Looks like the base height is relatively high. One thing I will say is that we're somewhat far away from the Miami radar site. So the beam is shooting high, and it may not be able to pick up the lowest level rotation, that there might be rotation even a little bit lower in the atmosphere compared to what the radar is showing, but it is showing some rotation. So, I'm concerned right now for New Providence. I want to send up the signal that if you live in this area, and I know some of you are viewing us right now, keep a really close eye on this cell. There is the opportunity for some water spouts. There is the opportunity for tornadic activity. There is the opportunity for winds of 50 to 60 miles an hour that could knock down trees and power lines and cause some problems. Now, it's not going to last long. These are moving again around 45 miles an hour, but this is a nasty cell that's going to be moving into the western side of New Providence here in just the next 15 minutes or so. Let's go over to our velocity product. Let's see here. Let me get back over. Well, it's going to make me choose. Let's do base velocity. Okay. So again, on this product, I'm looking for areas of bright red next to areas of bright green. That would indicate there to be some rotation. Again, we still have some indicated at the mid-levels right here as this cell is working out 46 miles an hour. So one problem, or one thing that I think I'm going to be very concerned about here, let me get back over to level 2, is the gust potential. The thing has to reset one scan, so give it just 1 second, and it'll pop back on here. It's not showing me that product right now. That's all right. A lot of wind. A lot of wind. If I go back over to the reflectivity, you can see, do you see how this has bowed out? Again, if you're just tuning in, I've mentioned it many times, but that's what we call a bow echo. So you have stronger mid-level winds out of the west, which is pushing this part of the line segment east. It sticks out. So you have the strongest winds there at this apex of the bow, but also it inherently produces rotation. So this is classic. You get the apex of this bow and you get a rotation signature here on the radar. I've seen it too many times to count as my time as a meteorologist. So I'm not surprised. The problem is this is moving right over New Providence in the next 15 to 30 minutes. It's going to be a nasty storm. It's going to be a nasty storm. I mean, again, I don't want to say that there is a water spout or tornado potential. There absolutely is that potential. It's not a guarantee, but I am concerned that the most stout part of this storm is going to be moving right over Nassau and New Providence in general. So again, if you live in this area, the smartest thing to do is just to get indoors. If you know people who are out, I would get them indoors as well. If you want to be ultra safe, just stay away from west-facing windows, okay? I don't see any hail signature produced out of this, but obviously these storms coming in from west to east, if they're going to knock down anything, it'll be on the western side of buildings. So keep an eye on that. Yeah, it's just a nasty cell, guys. That's a nasty one. Let's see here. I want to, maybe I have to get off of this skit system for it to bring this back on. That's wind shear. I wanted to look at the gust potential. I'm going to reset this one more time because I want to make sure I have all the data available before we get going. I'll read a question here. Oh, let's see here. Charles says, current situation, winds out of the southeast at 18, dark skies in Nassau. Thanks, Charles. Yeah, Aston says the gale warning in effect for the Cayman Islands. Yeah, Aston, I'm with you, buddy. I think it's late Monday and Tuesday for Jamaica. Hasn't been issued yet, but could be issued. And I think it's fantastic that you're preparing for gale winds because that's smart. It's just smart to be prepared when we know that's coming. I'm going to fire it up again one more time here. Basically just letting, I use so much stuff behind the scenes here, so much resources that every so often, just like your computer at home, get a nice little fresh reboot is a pretty smart thing to do. Okay, so now I think we are fully loaded and ready to go. And this was the product that I wanted to show you. And this was what I was concerned about. This is wind gust potential. Okay, so the Miami radar, which is what we're looking at right now, is using all of its algorithm and data to produce different severe weather criteria. This would be what could be the wind gusts coming in with this storm. And you notice it is showing potentially up to 60-mile-an-hour winds. So this is a nasty storm, again, which is going to be going right over the island. So keep that in mind, friends. It's coming. Let's put on METAR data. Let's do that as well. So I'm firing up basically the observations. There we go. There's your 75 there. That is your temperature. No gust being reported as of yet. So the ridiculous thing about this system is when I ask for a live wind, it actually gives us a wind barb. I don't like it, but it is what it is. It's a southeast wind, as Charles mentioned. So that report is southeast at 10. Charles said southeast at 18. There you go. But guess what? It's going to be out of the southeast, south, and then eventually the west and the northwest. And it's going to be a lot stronger than 10 or 18 miles an hour. Again, just offshore right now, we have that potential for about 60. Let's see here. Get over to our radar control again. I'm going to drop the alpha down just a little bit here. I want to just be able to see a little bit more of the island here. So now our winds are beginning to come over those areas. Let's go back over to reflectivity. Let's see here. I didn't want to do that. Clear that. Just kind of taking a look at a couple of things here real quick, guys. That's a nasty storm. It's in the open waters. That's good news. You can see it. Abaco, get ready. If these storms hold together, this one's actually potentially even a little bit stronger. It's at least showing a little bit of a hail core. It's pretty far away right now towards Marsh Harbor, but you see it. And then again, here comes this one segment that I'm concerned about here over the Bahamas, excuse me, over New Providence itself. Let's see here. So looking at a couple of different products here, the wind. But it's marching on. As they say, friends, it's here. It's basically on the western edge. And again, the opportunity, I can go to level 3 here real quick. It's going to be a little bit cleaner of a radar sweep. Just a little bit cleaner. So again, it's right here that we're looking at the strongest or the apex of this storm. 40, 50, maybe 60 mile an hour gusts, some inherent rotation trying to be produced out of this as well. The good news is we did lose that algorithm, that skit, that meso, it dropped off. You like to see that. But again, it's going to get pretty nasty. 75 degrees for you right now, by the way. Doesn't look like there's been any gusts reported as of yet, but it's coming. It's absolutely coming here. By the way, I can also pull on buoy and ship data as well. Just for the record, if there was any buoys or ships out here that would be sending out reports, we can track those in real time as well. I don't see any right now that's showing anything in the Northwest Bahamas, but you get the idea. Down to 70 in Freeport. So again, we've had the storms move through there. And, you know, nasty storm. Someone from the Freeport area just said, hey, it's looking better, and it is. There is not any rain behind this initial line. It'll be quiet the rest of the day, but additional showers and storms will be ramping back up a little bit later. Let's see here. Let me bring on these skits again. So the nastiest cell is that one right there. Thankfully, it's in the open waters. And again, let's say that this one we're going over New Providence, we can actually just track this together because it knows its speed, it knows its movement, and I can just follow along and say, hey, look, you know, that dot right there, it's coming in at 341, and you can literally see that we're counting down the moment until impact. I can actually even do that manually as well. But you get the idea of what some of the system can do. Oh, here we go again. It's picked up a little bit of a meso. Still high. So again, meso means mesoscale, cyclone, rotation. The radar site is far enough away where it's only going to be picking up the mid-level ones. You hope it's not low level, but nasty storm moving over New Providence. Water spout, tornado potential, it's a possibility, okay? Heavy rain potential, localized flooding, yes, especially with additional rain Monday and Tuesday. Winds of 40 to 60 miles an hour coming out of the west, absolutely as well. Charles says, thunderclaps here in Nassau. Yep, they're coming, guys. Charles, please keep us updated. I appreciate you a lot. If you guys look in the chat, you'll see Charles is there. He is on New Providence. I believe there's a couple of others as well. Drop in. This is why we are live right now here at Meteo Mundo, giving you these real-time updates to keep you informed. Again, fairly populated area here of the Bahamas, so I want to make sure that we're live throughout this situation. Now, it's not going to last long, all right? It might take about a half hour or so for this severe potential storm to traverse the area. And again, a general severe thunderstorm warning is in effect for the Bahamas, the Northwest Bahamas, issued by the Bahamas Department of Meteorology for the remainder of the day. All righty here. What did I want to do next? Oh, manual tracking. So I can actually manually track this storm. What's its forward speed? About 45, we said, right? Okay. So, here you go. And I apologize for not doing this earlier. There's a lot of really neat things we can do here, and I hope you guys come along for the ride. Really excited again about hurricane season to keep you guys ahead of the storm. I'm never excited about hurricanes. I never like to hype anything, but if there's something we got to talk about, we're going to do it. So what I have done is I have manually put on a track here. We are 18 minutes away based on the timing of 45-mile-an-hour forward speed out of the east to get to Nassau in 18 minutes. It obviously is moving onshore as we speak. And again, counting down in real time. So as we move across the island, you can start to see, I'll go real slow because I'm sure a lot of different people here, live in different parts of the island, but you can see just how close it might be to your area. So basically getting to the center part of the island here in about 11 minutes. And then as we mentioned, there's Nassau, right about 17 now. So there you go. And then eventually, the last part of the leading edge of the nasty weather begins to move offshore at about 24 minutes. Probably 5 to 10 minutes later, the back end of that nasty cell moves away. So there you go. Still have that meso detected. I'm just going to leave this on. We can kind of just look at it together. I might update it from time to time as the forward speed maybe picks up or drops a little bit. Don't mind me just looking through a couple of things back here. Back to reflectivity. Gate-to-gate shear. So what this is, gate-to-gate means very close shear, all right? Meaning winds that are turning in opposite directions that are very close to each other. If you look, where we have the highest gate-to-gate shear, we have that rotation detected. So this would be on the far western tip of the island, on the southern side, mid-level rotation. Again, I want to be clear that the radar height that we're shooting at is not going to show the low-level rotation, but mid-level rotation can sometimes lead to low-level rotation, and water spouts and even tornadic activity are possible to go along with these storms. This is wind shear in general. We'll look at the storm relative velocity. And again, in this product, so as a meteorologist, as I'm interrogating this product, I'm looking for bright reds next to bright greens. That again shows a movement of air at different directions, rotation within a storm. Green are going towards, red are going away from the radar site. So now we're down about 15 minutes in Nassau. Let's get back over to the reflectivity. And what will happen is we will get a complete volume scan from the radar site about every 6 minutes. And every 6 minutes, these icons will update. There's the opportunity or the possibility that that will drop off or get stronger, just depending on. It takes about 6 minutes for the radar to get what we call a full volume sector from the lowest levels of the atmosphere to the upper levels of the atmosphere. The algorithms are running behind the scenes constantly, and they're keeping a close eye on things. Going over to the skid system here. Let's see, probably because I have manual tracking on, the skids are off. So for just a brief second here, let me remove the manual tracking. I want to redraw it anyway. Oh, there it is. Okay. Okay, well, yeah, we're done with that, please. Let's loop this back up. I'm hoping that we get the skits to come back on here. You can see that. So this is just the wind shear, but you can see it coming in with those skits. And that's just the icons. When I refer to skits, that's what I mean. It's just an acronym. Here we go. No, I don't want to do that. Yeah, clear it. Clear it all. All right. Let me know how it's going over there, guys. 21 by 7 miles, yeah. So 21 miles, you know, at 44 miles an hour, it's about a half hour, a little bit less. No doubt about it. Trying to see if we can get these automatic skits to come back on here. See if I put this into motion. And it's not moving on. We still have this mezzo though right here. It's been pretty consistent with this part of the line. Again, that bow. And it's moving right over the western side of Nassau, excuse me, New Providence right now. So whatever it is, whatever that storm is bringing, it's bringing. And it looks pretty decent still. It really does. Certainly have my concerns. Let me pause this real quick. Yeah. So that's the wind gust potential right there. And then you can see that cell moving on. I don't think it's liking me very much right now. I'm gonna knock it off one more time. There's a lot of data that goes on behind the scenes, and I'm flipping things so fast right now. I don't think it's very appreciative of it. So we'll stick with the reflectivity and then the winds. Not a big deal. Just takes a second to fire it back up and say, hey, reset everything I told you. There's all your temperatures. Let me get this back off. We'll go back over to the Miami radar. There we go. Boom. And we'll get back into this. And I'll switch over to level 3 data, reflectivity. Boom. Turn on the smoothing. Excellent. All right, we're good to go. So again, if you're just tuning in, this is a nasty storm moving over to Providence right now, including the Nassau area, in just about the next 15 to 20 minutes. This is basically why I've been live here for the last couple of hours now, where we push an hour and 40 minutes, because we've had a line of strong to severe storms work its way through the northwest Bahamas. Biggest threats are going to be winds of 40 to 60 miles an hour, some water spouts and even some tornadoes. And then the possibility over the next couple of days of heavy enough rain to lead to some isolated flooding. There is a severe thunderstorm warning in general currently in effect for the northwest Bahamas. That is from the Bahamas Department of Meteorology. Now this cell is a nasty one moving into the western side of New Providence right now. If you're viewing us from New Providence, let me know in the comments section below. How's it going? The weather should be going downhill, unfortunately, here over the next half hour or so. You can see that the forward speed of this segment of the storm is also picking up right now. That one segment right there, let me get it back on screen for you, is going at 52 miles an hour. And again, you know, the minimum wind that you are going to see out of this storm is the forward speed of the actual cell. So if it's moving at around 50 miles an hour, what it tells you is that New Providence has the opportunity to at least see some 50-mile-an-hour winds, but there could be even some higher gusts to go along with it. So it's a big concern right now about what's going to be happening in New Providence here over the next 25 to 30 minutes or so. Now, it is moving so fast, it's in and out of here very quickly, but some of the worst storms, of course, are your rapid ones which go through real quick with the wind. And again, inherently, there is some rotation to some of these storms. So we have to keep an eye out for that as well. I'm looking at velocity products and just other things that will give me an idea of whether there is any big issues as far as that goes. And again, it's something that we'll have to monitor here. I'm looking at a couple different things behind the scenes, and the velocity is okay. Now, we are getting close to where the radar site, which is coming out of Miami, starts to shoot a little too high to really see the low level wind direction and shear, but it's absolutely still there. At least some rotations here or there. But this is a healthy storm rolling through New Providence and Nassau in general right now. Go back over to level 3, which is just another radar derivative here. There we go. And again, let's track out the worst part of this storm. So we'll go back into manual tracking mode. Let's go from right about there. And we'll go, I can't even go that far out. Well, let me expand. Yes, it will. Let me reset that real quick. Redraw it. I wasn't far enough out in perspective because this thing is racing. So if I go from here, we'll say 45 miles an hour. I think that's been about average. So when I zoom in, you'll see how close we are. For Nassau, it says we're about 11 minutes away, right, guys? And you can see that. So this is letting us know where the worst part of the storm is on New Providence right now and how long it's going to take to get to the rest of the island, all right? And again, that's from the heaviest part of the cell. So it looks like it'll be exiting the area in about 17, 18 minutes. And there's still another 5 or 10 minutes of storms behind that. But again, for Nassau itself, about 11 miles. Charles says it's going downhill in Nassau right now. Can you access the Bahamas radar? We are working on that, to answer your question. We are working on it. There are a few radar sites in the Bahamas that we are working to access. The Miami radar is pretty good. It certainly has, I mean, it's a very strong WSR 88D Doppler radar, and we can look at all of these different things. So I'm confident in the radar system that we have, but we're always trying to improve and add as we go along too, to answer your question, Charles. So there it is. Nasty storm. Let's take a look at the winds. And again, just like Charles, if you live anywhere else along the island, drop me a note. Let me know how's it going there. With the base velocity too, yeah. We're getting right towards the edge of that. So we'll stick with the reflectivity. And we're 10 minutes away here in Nassau. But again, this is one part of what is a very strong line of storms. For Grand Bahama, we had one really nasty cell. And by the way, you can see the countdown. It will stay for Nassau. I'll just leave it on the screen. That's fine. One really nasty cell on the far northern side of the island. It's almost just basically offshore. Otherwise, it's been relatively lighter rain, and it is drying out behind it. Bimini is already dry. Walker's Key, the light rain. Next area that I'm going to have some concern about, if these storms can hold together, is going to be Abaco. Right now, it's nice and quiet on the island, but you can see, again, we have a little, what we call meso rotation there. We have a stronger storm that is actually detecting hail. Now, that hail might never reach the ground. Might be more trapped in the mid-levels of the atmosphere. It's a little bit too cool otherwise. Getting some pulsating right now from my radar. Oh, we went into live sweep mode. I didn't mean to do that. So I could activate the live scan of the radar as well. There's a lot of really different neat things I can do, but we get that pulsating effect when that happens. Let's get back over to New Providence here. Let's see. God's point of view says the wind and the rain is coming down in Nassau. It's coming, guys. Whatever this storm is bringing, you're getting hammered right now. And again, I believe that we're looking at 40 to 50 plus mile an hour winds. I believe we are looking at least the possibility of some rotation within this storm. Now, it may be at the mid-levels. We may not get a water spout. I certainly hope we don't get a tornado out of this, but that threat is inherent with the storms that will be coming through the northwest Bahamas the remainder of the day. Also, it'll be a deluge of heavy rain. Now, thankfully, these storms are moving at 40 to 50 miles an hour, so they're not going to last too long in any one spot, okay? But maybe a quick inch or two of rain, maybe some localized flooding for a brief time is possible. And again, this is not the only rain that New Providence and Grand Bahama is going to see. We have the opportunity for more rain tomorrow and Tuesday. It's not going to be as heavy in nature. We're not going to have these severe weather threats, but we also are going to have gale force winds. Gale force winds, a gale force warning is in effect until Tuesday. This is a massive, extremely strong mid-level cyclone that is working its way through. And I've already mentioned many times all the impacts it's going to bring to a variety of islands. I'm going to go back, draw this back on here real quick, guys. I'm going to add another manual track. I just like to update these fairly quickly because I want to make sure that they're up to date. Let's see here. I think it's going right over the island right now. Strong storm. Yep. Thanks, Charles. It's pretty nasty. There's no doubt about it. I'm trying to redraw this line. Well, fine. Andros got hit pretty hard too. Andros town. They got clipped. They got clipped with that cell. And again, Eleuthera, eventually, it's going to take a few hours at least. And in between New Providence and Grand Bahama, pretty nasty cells. Again, these skits that you see, or these polygons, are where the nastiest storms are that the radar is picking up on. And you can see the movement. Everything has generally been off towards the east at around 40 miles an hour. What's interesting is this one here. Is it trying to dive a little bit south? Maybe not. But man, northern coastline of Grand Bahama could just be skirting you right now. Probably not going to get the nastiest part of it. But there you go. All right, here we go, guys. Right over. Thunderstorm, medium to light rain, southwestern New Providence, Carmichael Road area. Thank you very much for that report. I appreciate it. It's always great to get the ground truth data, guys. Having basically you guys act as storm spotters is a very important part of what we do at Meteo Mundo because we cover such a large area, okay? And we're going to be adding features which will allow us to see more. If you can kind of get that, I don't want to give away too much, but we'll be able to cover things in an even better way in a live perspective coming up as we go through the year. I'm excited about that, but hearing what you guys are seeing right now always reaffirms what I'm looking at on the radar, okay? Did this all the time when I worked in television. We always had storm spotters who would go out in the storms and they would give us the ground truth data. And sometimes it would line up very well with what we were seeing, and other times it was slightly different. These radars are fantastic, but they are one piece of the puzzle, if you will. And hearing from you guys about what's actually happening in your area is also extremely important. I'm going to swing back one more time here. You might see the screen go away just for a slight second. It's going to come back up. And then we're going to get back into what's happening here. So I want to be able to redraw this cell. So again, Strong to severe storm moving right over New Providence as we speak. I've got this thing playing in auto mode. By the way, look for a return of the live radar as well during hurricane season. When we're not doing videos, we'll have our live radar up for you. It's always a neat thing. I mean, let's draw it from the back end now. How long is it going to take to clear? And then I'm not going to touch it again. So now what we're looking at is the nasty weather is getting right over Nassau as we speak. The clearing line is probably about 10 minutes away. So the western side of the island is already starting to see the wind and the rain relax. Thankfully, this is a fast-moving storm. The other great piece about it is, you notice that that's the worst part now. We might have avoided the strongest winds coming through New Providence. I still think there's 40 to 50. And again, because the storm is moving that fast. Also hope we've had no reports of water spouts. I've keeping an eye on a couple different pieces of information actually. If we do get something, that would be great. And one other thing that we're going to be doing as well is starting a Meteo Mundo storm spotter, like an official storm spotter list. And I'll have more details on that coming up as well. But if you're interested in becoming a Meteo Mundo storm spotter, keep that in mind, and we'll have more information for you coming up here in the next couple of months. But again, having folks live across the Caribbean, the Bahamas that we service, and having those people being reliable and being able to give us real-time updates is always important, because you're helping yourself, you're helping your community, and you're helping everyone else who's watching Meteo Mundo as well. And I love it because, again, it's just another piece that I can add on to what we've been doing. So we're about 8 minutes away from the worst part of the storm moving through Nassau. I feel a little bit better here over the last 10 to 15 minutes that this is a strong storm, but it's not hopefully severe. I don't think that there's going to be a lot of damage out of this. Again, 40, 50 plus mile an hour winds, very heavy rain. Could be some localized flooding, ponding in low-lying areas. And this is not the only rain that we're going to get here as well. So again, just kind of looking at how far are we away from this. Right now in the center of the island, we're getting the heart of it, friends. It is right moving through. But again, already the western side of the island has cleared out. There are additional stronger storms through the remainder of the islands. And again, luckily, there's another large chunk of really nasty weather, which is in the open waters. But we'll be keeping an eye on Abaco and Marsh Harbor later. That one strong cell just north of Grand Bahama right now. The weather looks okay in Freeport and Lucaya at the hour. Eleuthera, Dunmoretown will be keeping a close eye on you. I'm hoping that these storms weaken a bit, but there will be parts of that line segment which will continue to be on the stronger side. And again, it's right into Nassau right now. Hi, Richard. Thank you. La Horda, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I appreciate you for that report. Thunder now in the eastern side of New Providence. It's coming. It's rolling through. And again, these storms are moving at about 40 to 50 miles an hour. So those are the minimum winds that it's going to show. I'll put on actually, we'll put on the, still showing 75 degrees. Interestingly, still not showing a gust there at the reporting station. Let's see what wind it's showing. Still showing a southeast wind. So these things only update hourly unless there's a special observation, which it hasn't given out. So we will probably get an update to this METAR site at the top of the hour, which is only 5-6 minutes away. Might take a couple more minutes for the data to actually come in, but I'll be curious to see what gust it produced over the last hour. My guess would be 35 to 40 at a minimum, and potentially higher than that as well. So here you go, guys. We're now about 6 minutes away from the worst of the weather exiting Nassau. It is right over the central and the eastern part of the island. And again, it's moving fast, moving east at 45. This is a strong to severe storm. It looked a little bit worse just west of the island, but I still think there is the opportunity for some near severe storm gusts. The heavy rain potential is going to be there as well. And again, what this is a manual track that I put on. And based on that 45 mile an hour forward wind speed, we can absolutely just take a look at, and what this was showing the last part of the worst weather. And again, this is already taking into account where it is now. So the bottom line is the worst part of the weather should be clearing the north side of the island in about 10 minutes. And that's the countdown that you see. So this is the storm ETA, and I did it from the back end of the worst weather. So Nassau's in it right now. The worst end of the worst weather should be clearing the eastern side of New Providence in less than 10 minutes. Let's go over here. Let's see, just one more time. I just want to see if, yeah, we're right on the edge of this base velocity data, but nothing looked horrible. A little bit farther out there. Wonder if I extend it out a little bit here. Just looking at a couple things behind the scenes, guys, here. Checking in on some data. Yeah, I don't see it. All right, let's get back over to this. Here you go. It's a nice little pulse up right there. This would be a little bit of concern because it's right on the coastline. And this is the kind of signature that if there was some rotation, that you could spin up a little water spout, one of those brief ones. But I mean, it's not going to be shocking, to be quite honest, if we get a report of a water spout somewhere along the coastal waters with this coming through. There's been fairly inherent broad rotation, generally in the mid-levels of the atmosphere, but these are low-topped storms. And so underneath some of that, sometimes you can get a brief spin up. So we're about 4 minutes away now from the worst weather exiting Nassau east. It's moving very quickly. Now the western half of the island has already seen the worst weather come through. Richard says rain in eastern New Providence. God's point of view says my power may cut out soon. I hope not. Noble Pills says there's good rain in Freeport. Valentino says dangerous lightning. Yeah, it's coming. It is rolling. The good news is that it's going to be in and out fast, but it's a noisy storm, isn't it? I mean, this is a good thunderstorm for February, no doubt about it. There's a lot of instability in the atmosphere. If you are just tuning in, the one reason why I came on is this storm system over southeast Florida produced numerous severe thunderstorm and tornado warnings. And I was concerned about places like Grand Bahama and Andros and New Providence and Bimini, especially, to have some of that kind of weather. I hope we've avoided the tornadic threat, or I hope we've avoided the tornadoes in general. The waterspout tornado threat is there for the remainder of the day, but hopefully we've avoided that. But this is a really nasty storm moving through. Again, Nassau at this point in time, I mean, getting pounded right now. We're just close to clearing the healthiest part of this storm just east of Nassau. If you give it another 2 or 3 minutes, and that's what we're counting down to right now. Again, the cell started here when I started tracking it, but now we're watching it move away. And again, that time, if you will, is what's the last gasp of the nastiest part of the storm over your area. And so for Nassau, it's 2 minutes. And then for the eastern side of the island, it's about 6 minutes. And then we'll be done. That's the great news, is that these things are moving so fast at 40 to 45 miles an hour, they're not going to stay in any one area for very long. But they're also coming inherently with 40 to 50 mile an hour winds, and that's a problem that goes along with this as well. Let's loop this up real quick. Take a look at things. Always like to give a little bit broader perspective here from time to time. Again, those are some nasty storms west of Abaco. If you know anyone who lives in Marsh Harbor or those areas, that's coming your way in the next couple of hours. Rain will continue, but hopefully relatively light for Grand Bahama, and then Walker's Key in general as well. And there's nothing behind it. So Bimini is dry. We're good. Now, I say nothing is behind it for the short term, but long term, we're going to have more storms coming in later tomorrow as well. So if I go over to the composite radar here, look at those storms marching through. Look at that. This is over the last 2 hours, but I want to zoom out real fast to show you what I'm talking about. There's a meso low right there. It actually produced a couple tornado warnings near Tallahassee. But you see right there, and you see right there, impulses of energy being kicked out. Now, eventually, this low is going to wrap up in the northern Bahamas late tomorrow and Tuesday. But until then, it's still going to kick waves of energy out. And we're still going to at least get some storms Monday and Tuesday as well. But the nastiest line, the severe weather threat, is what's coming through right now. And look at these cells marching through. And you can just see, I was really concerned over Andros. I think Andros, the northern side of Andros, I know it's not very populated. I think they got hammered. Now we're getting this storm over Nassau. The intensity might have come down just a little bit, which is great news. But it's still a strong storm indeed. Lourdes says water spouts tend to be more prevalent in the Bahamas. Yeah, because we get a lot of water spouts with friction differences between land and water interaction. And this is obviously an island chain. And so we have that land-water interaction inherent when we're forecasting a system like this coming through the Bahamas, especially when you're talking about a squall line that inherently has rotation as it moves offshore from the east coast of Florida. So this is a really just solid line. I have been happy to see that we're losing some of the reds and oranges here. The intensity has come down a little bit, and that's just in time for Walker's Key and Grand Bahama. Still concerned about Abaco. And again, right now over Nassau, and we'll get back over it here. We're getting close to the end, guys. We're getting close to the end, but we're not there yet. That cell is right over Nassau as we speak. Let's go back live. That's not live. So what I just showed you right there is literally a composite of all the radars across the United States. And then I can access each radar site individually. And that's what we're doing here. All right, so you notice that that little time chunk went away from Nassau. It's because now the storm is east of Nassau. So let's clear that. We're almost to the end, guys. Another 3 or 4 minutes. That's the strongest part of the storm right there, east of Nassau. Let me know what you guys got. Noble Pills says storm. Charles, give me one more. Charles, if you're still with us, give me one more update, buddy. I'd like to hear. Same thing for you, La Horda. Same thing for you, God's point of view. Let me know what you guys ended up getting here because we're almost done with this cell. I'm hoping it was just a strong storm, but it was pretty nasty there for a while. I'm going to see here if that station, still not getting any gust report from the station on New Providence. Still showing 75 degrees. Still showing a wind out of the northeast. Would you guys be shocked to know that there's no wind chill? It feels like it's 76. 75 and it feels like it's 76. Your dew point's 68 degrees right now. But no gust reported as of the last time. All right, guys. We're real close to seeing this thing exit the eastern side of the island. There you go. I feel pretty good about it. So, let's do one more thing before we get out of here. Let's see here. Let's turn off the radar. This thing is not cooperating today. I have to talk to my engineers about this. Give me 1 second here, guys. Let me get these skits off. I'm just having to do something a little bit more manually than I normally do. There we go. So one more time, I want to show this high resolution imagery. And give you guys kind of an idea. And now, see, now the winds are popping on. Let's get those data. All right. So this is looping up from the HRRR model over the next 48 hours. So certainly we have this nasty line of storms coming through as we speak, but look what's going to be happening here through Tuesday. All right. And so my point is that the storms right now are only one part of what's going to be moving through. We'll get kind of a slot of drier air for a time, but as I've already mentioned, here comes another impulse of energy out of the eastern Gulf of Mexico. Guess what? More rain and potentially storms for tomorrow afternoon, okay? And then as we get into tomorrow night and into Tuesday, look at the spin right around Walker's Key or just to the north. Look at that low beginning to wrap up. Gale force winds all the way through Tuesday. It's going to be nasty in the Bahamas through Tuesday. Again, the severe weather threats today, but the gale force wind threat and the flood threat is all the way through Tuesday, because we could still see heavier downpours, if nothing else, which could add to those problems. And that low is spinning up. And I could see north winds 30 to 35 knots at least in the northwest Bahamas through Tuesday. So this is a nasty system, and I'll have another video coming out tomorrow to highlight that. One more fast look at all of my friends across the Caribbean here. Let's go out. That's a little too far. Let's go out 5 days. Take a look at this. Again, most areas aren't going to see severe weather. You're going to get a lot of wind, but this is a huge, huge feature coming off of the eastern side of the Gulf of Mexico and into the western Atlantic. And all of the wind and rain, it drives all the way into the Caribbean, including Jamaica, including Hispaniola, including Puerto Rico, U.S. and British Virgin Islands, and the Leeward Islands. Sorry, Windward Islands. Barbados and South, including Trinidad and Tobago, you'll stay with the southeast wind. Everyone else gets a north wind, at least for a day or two. You're going to get a good shot of rain, and then you're going to get a little bit cooler and drier air coming along with it. Even the ABC Islands will pick up some moisture coming out of this. So a vast majority of the Caribbean is influenced by this system that is pounding the Bahamas right now. It all is interconnected, very large scale feature. Bermuda is also going to get hammered as well. So there you go. Friends, we've been on now live for 2 hours, and I appreciate you. I think we're going to wrap it up. Again, I'll switch back over real quickly here to our radar data. Get rid of this for you real quick. And we'll look at the storms in the Bahamas one more time. So, nastiest storm just east of New Providence. Lighter rain for Grand Bahama. If you live in Andros, if you live in Abaco or Eleuthera, if these storms can hold together, those will be moving into your area later this afternoon or early in the evening. Then we get a break with more showers and storms, non-severe, Monday and Tuesday. So again, I just want to come on live because we can, and that's what we want to do here at Meteo Mundo. We want to service you across the Bahamas and the Caribbean. I appreciate you guys joining me in the chat. Thank you so much for also dropping in those comments. Again, we'll talk more about getting the storm spotters up and running here as we go over the next couple of months. And if you want to become a storm spotter for Meteo Mundo, we can certainly make that happen. Thank you for liking this video. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Remember, memberships are open as well if you want to become a member. I'll keep you up to date, friends. I will see you very shortly as well. Have a great rest of your Sunday. I will see you very soon. Again, thank you very much.